Lakers Nation, what is going on? Because the Lakers might have another huge opportunity sitting right in front of them, and this one could completely change their offense around Luka Doncic. Because right now the Lakers are searching for more shooting, more wing help, and another player who can take pressure off Luka and Austin Reeves. And there is one name that keeps coming up around the NBA world. Klay Thompson. Yes, the same Klay Thompson who helped build one of the greatest dynasties in NBA history and who is still one of the most respected shooters this league has ever seen. But the question is, can Klay still help the Lakers win a championship, or is this just another big name that sounds better than it actually is? Because the answer might surprise you. The Lakers have already made major changes around Luka Doncic this offseason. They added Walker Kessler to give them a true defensive anchor in the middle. They added more athletic players and more defenders to build a better roster around their superstar. But there is still one thing this team needs more than anything. Shooting. When you build around Luka Doncic, you need players who can punish defenses when teams send extra defenders at him. You need guys who can move without the basketball and make teams pay for helping off them. And that is exactly where Klay Thompson comes into the conversation. Now, before we get into whether the Lakers should actually go after Klay Thompson, we have to talk about why his name is even being connected to Los Angeles. Klay is currently with the Dallas Mavericks, but there has been speculation that his future with Dallas could become uncertain. The Lakers were actually one of the teams connected to Klay before he signed with the Mavericks back in 2024. And the interesting part is Klay chose Dallas because he wanted the chance to compete for a championship while playing next to Luka Doncic. But now Luka is in Los Angeles, and that creates a very interesting situation. Because Klay already understands how to play with Luka. He already knows how to play with a superstar who controls the offense. He already knows how to stay ready even when he does not have the ball in his hands. And that could make him a very interesting fit for the Lakers. Now I know what some Lakers fans are thinking. Klay Thompson is not the same player he was during the Warriors dynasty. And that is completely fair. He is not the all-NBA defender he used to be. He is not dropping 25 points every night anymore. But the Lakers do not need him to be that player. They do not need him to become prime Klay Thompson again. They need him to do one thing. Shoot the basketball at an elite level. And even during a down season, Klay still showed he can do that. Last season Klay averaged around 11 points per game, but the important number was his three-point shooting. He still knocked down around 38% of his threes while taking a high amount of attempts every game. That is the exact skill the Lakers need next to Luka Doncic. Because when Luka gets into the pick and roll, defenses have a nightmare decision to make. Do you send extra defenders toward Luka and leave Klay open? Or do you stay attached to Klay and allow Luka to attack one-on-one? Either way, the defense is forced to choose between two bad options. And that is what makes a shooter like Klay valuable. His impact is not only when he touches the ball. His impact comes from the attention defenders have to give him. Because no team can just leave Klay Thompson open. Even at this stage of his career. And that extra space could make life much easier for Luka Doncic and the entire Lakers offense. And this is where things get really interesting, because Klay Thompson might actually fit Luka Doncic better than a lot of people realize. The biggest thing about Luka is that he does not need another player who wants to dominate the basketball. He does not need somebody who needs 20 shots a night. He needs players who can create space and make defenses pay for focusing too much attention on him. And that is exactly what Klay has built his entire career around. Klay is one of the greatest movement shooters basketball has ever seen. He can run around screens. He can relocate after passing the ball. He can force defenders to chase him around the court. And even if he never touches the basketball, he is still impacting the game. Because defenders know the second they leave him open, Luka is going to find him. And that creates opportunities for everybody else. Imagine a lineup with Luka Doncic running a pick and roll with Walker Kessler. The defense has to worry about Luka attacking the basket. They have to worry about Kessler rolling to the rim. They have to worry about Austin Reeves creating offense. And then on the weak side you have Klay Thompson waiting behind the three-point line. That is a nightmare situation for any defense. Because if the defender helps even for 1 second, Luka can make the pass and Klay can make them pay. That is the type of basketball fit that makes sense for the Lakers. Now obviously there are concerns. The Lakers are not getting the Klay Thompson from the Golden State Warriors championship years. That version of Klay was one of the best two-way players in the entire NBA. He could defend the best players on the other team and hit huge shots in the biggest moments. Today Klay is a different player. His defense has declined. He is not as explosive getting to the basket. And there will be nights where his shot is not falling. But the question is not if Klay is still a superstar. Because he is not. The real question is whether Klay can still provide one elite skill that championship teams always need. Shooting. And the answer is yes. Because the Lakers' offense last season showed a major problem. Too much pressure was placed on Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves to create something every single possession. When defenses were able to load up on Luka, the Lakers needed more players who could punish teams for making that decision. That is where a player like Klay changes things. He does not need the ball to make an impact. He just needs defenders to respect him. And that alone creates more room for Luka to operate. But there is another reason this move could make sense. Klay already has chemistry with Luka. This would not be a situation where Luka has to learn how to play with a completely new player. Klay played with Luka in Dallas and already understands what it takes to play next to him. He understands that there will be possessions where he might not touch the ball. He understands that his job is to stay ready. Because Luka is going to find him when the defense makes a mistake. And that type of connection is valuable. Because championship teams are not always built with the most talented players. They are built with players who understand their roles. And Klay could have a very simple role in Los Angeles. Come off screens. Knock down open shots. Spread the floor. And give Luka another weapon. Now the next question becomes, how would the Lakers even make this happen? Because right now the roster situation is complicated. The Lakers have a lot of guaranteed contracts and they are already dealing with being close to the first apron. If they want to add another important piece, they might have to make a tough decision. And one of the names that keeps coming up is Jared Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt brings something valuable because his defense and energy can change games. But the problem is his lack of shooting can become a major issue next to Luka Doncic and Walker Kessler. Teams can leave him open and put more defenders around Luka. And that is the exact problem the Lakers are trying to solve. Another name that could be involved is Dalton Knecht. Knecht is younger and has upside. But the Lakers already have several wings fighting for minutes. Players like Quentin Grimes, Matisse Thybulle, Zaire Williams, and Cameron Carr. So the question becomes, do the Lakers keep multiple young wings or do they make room for a proven shooter who has already performed on the biggest stage? And that is why the Klay Thompson situation is so interesting. Because this would not be about chasing a big name. This would be about finding the perfect role next to Luka Doncic. And if the Lakers can get Klay on a reasonable contract, then this could become one of the smartest moves they make all offseason. Now the biggest question surrounding Klay Thompson is, how exactly would the Lakers get him? Because right now Dallas does not seem interested in simply letting Klay walk away for nothing. The Mavericks still believe Klay has value and they want to explore their options before making any decision. That means the Lakers probably would not just be able to wait around and sign him easily. They would need the situation in Dallas to change. Maybe a trade becomes possible. Maybe a buyout happens later. Or maybe another opportunity opens up that allows the Lakers to jump into the conversation. But if that opportunity comes, the Lakers have to be ready. Because a player like Klay Thompson is not going to sit available forever. There will be multiple teams interested because every contender in the NBA understands the value of elite shooting. And especially when you're talking about playing next to a superstar like Luka Doncic, shooting becomes even more important. But now we have to talk about the biggest concern. Is Klay Thompson actually worth changing the roster for? Because this is where things get complicated. The Lakers cannot just add players without making decisions. They already have a crowded roster. They already have financial restrictions. And they need to make sure every move actually improves the team. Moving Jared Vanderbilt and Dalton Connect would not be an easy decision. Because both players bring value. Vanderbilt can defend multiple positions. He brings toughness. He brings energy. And when healthy he can be one of the best defenders on the floor. But the problem is the fit. In today's NBA you need players around Luka who can make defenses pay. And if a defender can ignore Vanderbilt on the perimeter, then they can put more pressure on Luka. That is why adding a shooter like Klay becomes so interesting. Because Klay changes the way defenses have to guard the entire floor. With Dalton Connect the situation is different. Because Connect is young. He has potential. And he could become a very good player for the Lakers. But the Lakers are trying to win right now. They are building around Luka Doncic. And the question becomes whether they should prioritize future potential or championship experience. Because Klay has been there before. He has played in huge games. He knows what playoff basketball feels like. And he knows what it takes to play next to a superstar. But even if the Lakers made this move, there is one thing everybody has to understand. Klay Thompson is not going to fix every problem. He is not suddenly turning the Lakers into the best team in the NBA. He is not becoming the player he was during the Warriors' championship runs. The Lakers would be taking a calculated risk. They would be betting that his shooting and experience can outweigh his defensive decline. And honestly, that is the type of risk championship teams have to consider. Because when you have Luka Doncic, you already have one of the hardest players in basketball to defend. Your job is to surround him with players who make his life easier. And Klay Thompson still does one thing at an elite level. He makes defenses nervous. Because every time he steps on the court, defenders have to respect him. They cannot help too far off him. They cannot leave him open. And they cannot make the mistake of giving him clean looks. That creates opportunities for Luka. That creates opportunities for Austin Reeves. That creates opportunities for Walker Kessler rolling to the basket. And that is why this fit makes so much sense on paper. Now the question is whether the Lakers front office sees it the same way. Because Rob Pelinka has already shown this offseason that he is willing to make aggressive moves around Luka Doncic. The addition of Walker Kessler showed the Lakers are serious about building a championship roster. They are not just trying to be competitive. They are trying to put together a team that can make a deep playoff run. And if Klay Thompson becomes available, the Lakers have to at least pick up the phone. Because even though Klay is not the same player he once was, a player who can still hit big shots, a player who can still space the floor, and a player who already understands how to play with Luka, is exactly the type of player this roster needs. At the end of the day, this move would come down to one thing. Does the shooting outweigh the weaknesses? Because if the answer is yes, then Klay Thompson could be one of the most interesting additions the Lakers can make before the season starts. So after looking at everything, the question is simple. Should the Lakers actually go after Klay Thompson? And in my opinion, this is a move the Lakers should seriously consider if the price is right. Because the Lakers are not looking for another superstar right now. They already have Luka Doncic. They already have a player who can control an entire game. What they need is players who make Luka even more dangerous. And Klay Thompson fits that idea perfectly. The Lakers do not need Klay to score 25 points every night. They do not need him to be the second option. They do not need him to carry an offense. They need him to do what he has always done. Shoot the basketball. Move without the ball. Create space. And punish teams when they focus too much on Luka. That is the type of player every superstar needs around them. And when you look at championship teams throughout NBA history, they usually have players who can make defenses pay for helping off them. That is what Klay still brings. But I also want to be realistic because there are risks with this move. Klay is older. His defense is not what it used to be. And there will be nights where his shot is not falling. There is no guarantee that the Klay Thompson from the Warriors days is coming back. That player is gone. But the Lakers are not trying to bring back the old Klay. They are trying to add the current Klay. A veteran shooter who understands the game. A player who has played at the highest level. And a player who already has chemistry with Luka Doncic. That is why this situation is so interesting. Because sometimes the best additions are not the biggest names. Sometimes the best additions are the players who perfectly fit what your team already does. And Klay Thompson could be one of those players for Los Angeles. Imagine a playoff game where Luka is getting double-teamed. The defense is collapsing. The crowd is getting loud. And then Luka kicks the ball out to Klay Thompson standing wide open behind the three-point line. That is the type of moment the Lakers would be hoping for. Because in the playoffs one shot can change everything. And having more players who can make those shots matters. Now will this actually happen? That is the biggest question. Right now Dallas still has control of the situation. The Mavericks could decide to keep Klay. They could trade him. Or another team could jump into the conversation. But if Klay becomes available, the Lakers should absolutely explore it. Because this roster is being built around Luka Doncic. And every move has to be about making his life easier. Adding defense was important. Adding size was important. But adding shooting might be the final piece this team needs. Klay Thompson may not be the superstar he once was. But he could still be the exact type of role player championship teams need. A player who does not need the ball. A player who knows his role. And a player who can change the game with one shot. So Lakers Nation, let me know what you think. Would you want Klay Thompson wearing purple and gold next season? Do you think the Lakers should move on from players like Jared Vanderbilt and Dalton Connect to create room for him? Or do you think the Lakers should stay with their current roster? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. If you enjoyed this Lakers update, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we are going to continue covering every Lakers rumor, every trade update and every piece of news surrounding Luka Doncic and the purple and gold. This is just the beginning of what could be a huge season for the Los Angeles Lakers.